Hello and welcome to a video on Robust's Sweet 16 wood turning lathe. Like all Robust lathes, the Sweet 16 has a 7-year warranty, stainless steel weighs, and is made right here in Barneveld, Wisconsin, USA. What makes the Sweet 16 unique is the removable gap section. We can take this section and move it to the end of the lathe and turn longer spindles. And we can also put it on the headstock and use it to support the banjo to do large diameter turning. With the gap removed, we can turn up to 32 inches in diameter as compared to the 16 inches when the gap is in place. More on that later. The Sweet 16 is available in 3 bed lengths. The short bed is great for when your shop space is small or you want to stand at the end and do hollow forms. Its center to center distance is 14 inches in its normal configuration and 28 inches when the bed gap is used as an extension. The standard bed is our most popular size. Its center to center distance is 24 inches or 38 inches. The long bed is popular with people who are furniture makers or who simply want to maximize their spindle turning capacity. The center distance for the long bed is 36 inches or 50 inches. All configurations have adjustable lathes, and all configurations are available in either 1.5 or 2 horsepower. The 1.5 can be wired 110 or 220. The 2 horsepower is 220 only. The Sweet 16 is equipped with digital readout and a magnetic back controller. Variable speed is at the top, forward reverse is in the center, stop button is at the bottom. Low speed is 50.8 RPM. Turning up the speed, we can go all the way up to 2904, its maximum RPM. There are 2 rare earth magnets on the back of the controller that allow you to put the controller anywhere along the machine. When you lock the spindle on the Sweet 16, it stays locked. You will not be able to start the machine with the spindle lock engaged. This helps prevent things like burnt belts. When you unlock the spindle, you'll be able to restart the machine. You can also reverse the direction of the machine at any time without stopping it. The spindle is made from a pre-hardened 4140 chrome moly alloy. It is threaded 1¼ 8 and has a number 2 Morse taper. A metric configuration is also available. The heavy-duty bearings are warranted for 7 years, just like the rest of the lathe, and indexing can be accessed from inside the headstock. There are 48 positions. There are 3 tool racks incorporated into the Sweet 16. The one on top of the headstock also has the lamp stand if you decide to get that accessory. Turning tool storage is built into the lathe bed, and on the headstock end, there's another tool rack shown here with most of the standard accessories that are included with the Sweet 16. The tailstock is made from a heavy-duty casting and weighs about 35 pounds. It's graduated in inches so you know how deep you're drilling. If you get the metric spindle, it will be graduated in millimeters, and it's through bored so that you can take a 3/8 inch drill or 10 millimeter drill and run all the way through. The tool rest clamp design is tried and true and was used for years on Powermatic lathes back when those machines were made in the US. There are 2 wedges that grip the tool rest securely. If it's in the way on one side, just slip it out and put it in from the other side. I think what you'll like best about it is how well it grips the tool rest. Well, let's put a Sweet 16 standard bed through the paces. We're going to make this entryway table. The top is 32 inches in diameter and it's about 36 inches tall. Let's start by taking the gap out of the Sweet 16 bed. The gap section is held in with 2 1/2-inch stainless steel bolts. I'm standing at the back of the machine just for clarity. For future reference, I want to show you how the gap is positioned. There are 4 slots on the bottom that rest on 4 hardened pins in the bed. We're going to move the gap to the front of the headstock. where it will become a platform to put the banjo and support the tool rest while we turn the backside of the tabletop. We'll also be able to put the banjo on the lathe bed and turn the front side of the tabletop. More on that soon. 32 inches of solid cherry, about 2 inches thick. I'm going to mount this piece from the backside so that you get a better view of how the mechanics work. I'm going to use the spindle lock to ensure that I have the blank on tight, but not so tight that I can't take it off later. I'm positioning the banjo so that I can work on the headstock side of the piece. I'm going to move the clamping lever to the other end so that it doesn't interfere. I'm also going to move the tool rest clamp so that I have better access to it. And while I have a big faceplate and a lot of screws holding the wood securely, I'm going to add the support of the live center for a little extra insurance. The piece is well balanced and I'm spinning at about 450 RPM. The Sweet 16 is available in a 1.5 horsepower 110 version or a 2 horsepower 220 volt version. This is the 2 horsepower machine. I've moved the banjo and tool rest to the lathe bed so that I can work on the tabletop surface. Because I want it flat, I'm checking the surface frequently with a straight edge. When the turning and sanding are done, it's time to apply finish. Now I'm setting up to turn the base. I've got the controls over on my side of the work, and I'm using the tailstock extension to get the tailstock pushed out of the way so I have room for the banjo on the lathe bed. This piece is also solid cherry and weighs about 70 pounds. It's well balanced. I'm turning at about 500 RPM. I've turned the base around to hollow out the bottom. I'm also using the dog leg, which helps offset the tool rest and get it a little further into the work. I think the hardest part of this project for me was to take the big turn base to my old blue bandsaw and cut out the segments to make the 3 legs. I rigged up a temporary table to help. I used the 48 position indexing inside the headstock to hold the base right where I needed it to get all my sanding and shaping done. With the base turning completed, I'm going to set the lathe up to turn the column. I'm moving the gap down to the end of the lathe to use it as an extension. The tailstock is used to help align the gap extension to the bed waves. With the column in the machine, you can see how the banjo is used to bridge the gap and lets me turn the column all in one setup. It's rugged and provides excellent support. As work progresses, I can install a smaller tool rest and get in nice and close for detail work. After final sanding, it's time to apply some finish. I've got some cardboard down on the ways to keep the drips off. That concludes all the turning for our project, but I have one more little thing to do. So let's put the lathe back the way it was when we started the video. Before I put the gap back in, I'm going to make sure all the mating surfaces are clean. Otherwise, the gap will be out of line with the rest of the bed. I didn't want you to think the Sweet 16 was only for big work, so I thought I'd make a top, a fun little project that only takes a few minutes. We'll put this top in action in just a minute, but first let's go over some popular accessories for the Sweet 16. The tool and tailstock rack gives you some extra place for accessories, and it's a handy place to store your tailstock if you take it off of the lathe. An option if you don't want to take the tailstock off the lathe is our tilt-away, and it can be used to tilt the tailstock out of the way to the back or to the front of the machine. If you prefer to leave the gap in place when you're turning a longer spindle, you can buy a separate bed extension. There are also casters available. They stay fastened to the lathe and snap up and down when you want to use them. There's a separate video about that. A lamp system is a popular option. You can get it with 1 or 2 fixtures. The dog leg was featured in the video, and it's a handy accessory for getting the tool rest into tight spots. The 110-volt outlet box can be mounted to the front or the back of the tailstock leg, and a steady rest is also available. So whether you're turning spinning tops or tabletops or anything in between, please consider the Sweet 16 for your next lathe. Thanks for watching.